She's your burden now. Those were my mother's exact words the night my sister dumped her 3-month-old baby on my doorstep and vanished into the rain. She didn't ask if I was okay. She didn't even look at the baby. She just handed me a life I never planned for and walked away. 10 years later, those same people dragged me into court claiming I'd kept them apart. I sat there holding the sealed folder they never knew existed, listening to them lie like it was effortless. And the moment I stood up to speak, something shifted because the truth in that folder wasn't just damaging, but also revealed things they never thought of. I used to think my life was small in the best way, quiet, predictable, safe. I worked long shifts as a pediatric nurse, came home to my one-bedroom apartment in a quiet corner of the city, reheated leftovers, watered my plants, and fell asleep to the hum of the radiator. I never imagined motherhood, certainly not the kind that arrives wrapped in a damp blanket at midnight. But life doesn't ask if you're ready. It just shows up and waits to see who you become. The night Elena disappeared felt unreal. One moment I was folding laundry while a storm tore across the streetlights outside. The next I was staring at a 3-month-old in a car seat, rain dripping from the canopy, a single crumpled note tucked beside her tiny fist. She looked so small, so breakable, her breath soft and shaky, like she knew she'd been left behind. I remember my hands shaking as I called my parents, desperate for any sign they cared. My mother answered on the second ring, sighed like I'd inconvenienced her, and said the sentence that would carve itself into my ribs, "She's your burden now." My father didn't even get on the phone. They hung up before I could say anything else. Even now, a decade later, I can still feel the thickness of the silence after that call. It was the moment I realized no one was coming to help, not Ross, who left 2 weeks later. Not my parents, not anyone. It was just me and a baby who had no one else in the world. I didn't sleep for the first 48 hours. I learned how to warm bottles by watching videos between sobs. I ran to the store at dawn with Lily tucked into my jacket because I didn't own a single thing for a child. I changed my entire life without a second thought. And slowly, something shifted from obligation to love, from survival to devotion. Lily would grip my finger and look at me like I was the only solid thing in her world. And maybe I was. People talk about chosen family like it's a soft idea, but mine was built through storms, tears, and promises whispered in the dark. And for 10 years, it felt unshakable, at least until the day Elena came back. Elena didn't return with an apology. She returned with a performance. It happened on an ordinary Wednesday. Lily was 9, stretched across the living room floor, building a cardboard solar system, humming softly the way she did when she felt safe. My phone rang with an unknown number. I almost let it go to voicemail. Almost. "Ruby, it's me." For a second, my brain refused to match the voice to the sister who'd vanished into the rain 10 years earlier. But then the familiar tremble slipped through the one she used whenever she wanted something. She said she was in the city. She wanted to talk. She wanted to explain. She chose a cafe across from a quiet park, neutral ground, she called it. And when she walked in, I barely recognized her. Polished hair, soft makeup, steady eyes. Not the frantic girl who'd left a baby on my doorstep. She looked curated. "I'm sober now," she said, fingers laced, voice perfectly measured. 7 years. I'm glad I responded truthfully and cautiously. "I want to meet her," she added. "If you think that's okay." If. As if she hadn't forfeited that right years ago. I didn't answer immediately. My mind was running calculations, Lily's stability, her anxieties, the nights she woke up after nightmares whispering, "Don't let them take me." But I agreed to try one controlled meeting. One. The Children's Museum felt safe, public, bright, full of noise. Lily clung to my hand, shy in a way she never was. Elena approached gently, too gently, like she was trying to earn points. And when Lily said, "Nana is my real mom," and Elena's eyes filled with tears, I wanted to believe the moment humbled her. But humility doesn't last long on people who are used to shortcuts. Over the next months, Elena's presence grew, weekly visits, texts asking about school projects, little gifts dropped off at our door. And Lily, being soft-hearted, opened up slowly. I didn't trust it, but I didn't want my fear to become Lily's cage. Then one night, after Lily had fallen asleep, I got a message. We have something important to discuss. Tomorrow, sign not just Elena, and Grant. Grant Dalton, her new husband, a man I had never met. The next day, they sat across from me at my dining table, hands intertwined, smiling like everything was predetermined. We want custody, Grant said calmly. Elena didn't even flinch. And right then, watching Lily's crayons scattered across the table between us, I felt something inside me lock into place. This wasn't reunion, this was a takeover. For a moment, I couldn't breathe. The word custody hit harder than anything Elena had ever done to me, including the night she abandoned her child on my doorstep. My fingers curled around the edge of the table to steady myself. You can't be serious, I said quietly, not trusting my voice. We are, Grant replied, tone smooth, too smooth. Lily deserves a traditional household, a stable home, 2 parents. He said it like I hadn't been both parents for a decade. Elena nodded with rehearsed calm. You've done so much for her, Ruby, truly, but it's time she comes home. Home. Lily's home was 10 feet away down the hall, her drawings taped to the walls, her little shoes lying neatly by the door. I didn't argue, not because I agreed, but because Lily was in the living room coloring, listening for every sound. I walked them to the door, expression, neutral voice, steady. They mistook that for weakness. Later that night, after I tucked Lily in, I found her curled up, whispering in her sleep, Don't take me. Don't take me. I sat on the floor beside her bed, hand on her back, feeling her tiny breaths tremble. And in that quiet, something in me snapped, not the brittle kind of breaking, but the clean, sharp click of a lock closing. A decision made. I wasn't losing her. Not to Elena. Not to anyone. The letter arrived 3 weeks later, a formal petition for custody, filed, stamped, cold. My parents signed affidavits supporting Elena, claiming I had blocked family access and distorted Lily's understanding of her heritage. Lies, all of them. I stared at the page until the words blurred. My parents, people who never bought Lily a birthday card, were suddenly claiming I had kept them apart. Collapse doesn't always look like falling apart. Sometimes it's quiet, a sinking, a cold clarity. I hired an attorney the next morning. Julia Hernandez had kind eyes, sharp instincts, and a voice that didn't tremble. After reviewing everything, she looked at me with a steady seriousness. This isn't a reunion case, she said. This is a power grab, and possibly a financial one. Financial, I repeated. Julia nodded. Their timeline doesn't make sense. People don't come back after 10 years by accident. I suggest we verify what they've been doing before they resurfaced. Enter Detective Harris. He was quiet, methodical, and had a way of sliding information across a table like he was dealing cards no one wanted. Within 2 weeks, he'd uncovered 3 things that turned my stomach. Grant was drowning in debt. He'd been searching for Lily's biological father for months. That man who Elena had never named had recently inherited several million. Suddenly, everything made sense. Elena's polished reappearance, Grant's interest, the urgency to get custody now, not for love, not for redemption, for money. I stared at the documents Harris gathered, financial inconsistencies, online searches, messages between Elena and my parents, proving they'd been in contact for years. A betrayal wrapped in a decade of silence. I wasn't collapsing anymore. I was preparing. And when the court date came, I would not walk in holding fear. I'd walk in holding the truth. The courthouse smelled like old paper and cold air, an odd mix that somehow made everything feel more real. I sat beside Julia, palms damp, the sealed folder, resting between us like a live wire. Every few seconds, I glanced at the door, imagining Lily at school, unaware of the storm reaching its peak. Then Elena and Grant walked in. Elena wore a soft blue dress, her hair styled into gentle waves meant to signal innocence. Grant had on a sharp suit and that confident half-smile he used like a shield. Behind them, my parents took their seats, hands folded like they were attending a church service, not a trial they helped orchestrate. When the judge entered, the room shifted. Judge Harrowman, silver hair, calm gaze, sat down, scanned the court, and said, "Let's proceed." Elena testified first. "My sister kept Lily from me," she said, voice trembling perfectly on cue. "I was sick, but I got better. I wanted to reconnect. She refused. She shut me out. Her attorney nodded, encouraging. And your parents? They were heartbroken, she whispered. Ruby didn't let them see their granddaughter, a lie delivered like scripture. My parents took the stand next, repeating it. She alienated us, my mother said with a practiced sigh. We tried, my father added. She wanted Lily to forget us. Not once did they mention the nights I begged them for help, the birthdays they skipped, the hurt they caused, when Lily asked why they didn't stay. Grant testified last. Cold, polished, dangerous. Ruby's unstable schedule, limited income, and lack of a two-parent household put Lily at a disadvantage, he said. Elena and I can give her stability, opportunity. Opportunity. The word tightened something behind my ribs. Then it was my turn. Julia guided me through the story, carefully showing photos, school reports, therapist notes, testimonies from teachers, neighbors, doctors. Every document painted a portrait of Lily's life as it truly was, stable, loved, nurtured. But even as I spoke, the opposing attorney tried to dismantle it. You work 2 jobs, correct? I do telehealth after Lily is asleep, I answered, to save for her future. You're unmarried? Yes. You rent? Yes. Do you believe you can provide what a married couple with a home can? Julia objected. The judge sustained it. But the damage wasn't the question. It was the implication. I inhaled slowly. I can provide her everything she actually needs. Safety, stability, love. The things she's known only with me. The judge watched me closely. Her gaze wasn't cold, just measuring, weighing truth against appearances. When testimony ended, the judge folded her hands. Does the respondent have additional evidence to submit? Julia nodded. Yes, Your Honor. We do. My heartbeat thudded. This was the moment everything turned. She lifted the sealed folder. May I approach? Proceed. The folder landed on the judge's desk with a soft thud, but the sound sliced straight through the room. Elena frowned. Grant shifted in his chair. My parents leaned forward. Judge Harriman broke the seal. When she opened the first page, her eyebrows lifted. The second page she inhaled sharply. By the third, her expression had hardened. What is this? She asked. Voice controlled but edged. Verified findings from a licensed private investigator, Julia said, including financial records, communication logs, and search history obtained legally. The evidence directly contradicts testimony given in this courtroom. Elena's face drained. Grant's jaw clenched. The judge read silently for nearly a minute. Then, Miss Morgan, she said, addressing Elena, were you aware your husband has been attempting to locate Lily's biological father? Elena blinked. Well, what? Were you aware that this man recently inherited a substantial estate that Mr. Dalton initiated a search immediately afterward? Grant opened his mouth, but his attorney yanked his sleeve. Elena's voice cracked. I didn't know the details. The judge's gaze sharpened. That is not what these messages suggest. My parents shifted nervously. And Mr. and Mrs. Lane. The judge continued, turning toward them. Can you explain why your phone records show regular communication with Elena for 3 years, despite your sworn statements claiming you did not know her whereabouts? My mother stammered. My father wiped sweat from his brow. I don't tolerate perjury, the judge said flatly, especially in a case involving a child. Julia placed a second set of documents on the desk. Additionally, Your Honor, you'll find school counselor reports indicating severe anxiety episodes in Lily due to fear of being separated from her primary caregiver. That landed harder than any financial lie. Silence spread across the room. Judge Harriman closed the folder. Then she looked at me directly. Miss Lane, please stand. My legs trembled, but I stood. The court acknowledges your decade of consistent loving care. Lily identifies you as her psychological parent. Removing her from your home would be emotionally damaging and contrary to her best interests. I felt the room tilt. My breath hitched. Therefore, she continued, custody remains solely with you. A sound escaped me, a quiet, broken gasp. Elena Morgan. Judge Harriman said firmly, you are granted supervised visitation contingent upon continued compliance with all court recommendations. Grant shot up. Your Honor. Sit down, Mr. Dalton, she commanded. Your financial motives are documented, and the court will be notifying the proper authorities for further review. My parents stared at me like they no longer recognized who I was. Court adjourned. The gavel struck one clean, final blow. What followed felt like a blur, chairs scraping, whispers filling the room, attorneys packing up. Elena approached me slowly, eyes red, voice thin. I didn't know she whispered. Grant. He said I stepped back, not out of anger, out of self preservation. You had 10 years, I said quietly. 10 years to show up for her. You came back for the money, not the child. She didn't deny it. As I walked out of the courtroom, sunlight spilled through the tall windows, warm against my face. I stepped into it like someone surfacing after years underwater. My phone buzzed a message from Lily's art teacher, a picture of Lily smiling, holding up a drawing of the two of us, a family made by choice. Not blood, not lies, not entitlement. I finally exhaled. We were safe. And this time, the truth had done the fighting for me. The weeks after the ruling felt strangely quiet, like my life was finally settling into the shape it was always meant to hold. Lily slept through the night again. No more nightmares, no more clinging at school drop-off. She drew brighter colors, sunny yellows, sky blues, not the anxious grays that had filled her pages for months. I met with my parents once at a neutral cafe. There was no shouting, no dramatic scene, just a calm distance that felt irreversible. They wanted access. I set boundaries. Supervised visits, full transparency, zero manipulation. They agreed, but I could see at the realization that the power they'd always held was gone. Elena filed for divorce from Grant quietly. She sent a short message apologizing, not expecting forgiveness. I didn't offer it, but I didn't shut the door on her either. For Lily's sake, I could leave room for something gentler. Julia helped me finalize long-term guardianship paperwork, ironclad, undeniable. One evening, as Lily and I sat on our small porch eating ice cream, she leaned against my shoulder and said, Mom, we're okay now, right? I smiled, smoothing her hair. Yes, sweetheart, we're more than okay. For the first time in months, the future felt wide open, and ours. Some families are built from blood. Others are built from choice, from loyalty, from every quiet promise kept when no one is watching. Lily and I, we're the second kind. And after everything we survived, abandonment, lies, a courtroom where truth had to fight for air. We came out stronger, steadier, unbreakable.